itself once we get going here. Thank you so much, everybody. My name is Nona Reimer, and it is a pleasure to be here today. You know, I actually grew up here, and I'm so old, I remember this area having picnics on a beach and watching my brother surf Killer Dana. So I go back that far, and then it was during my high school years when the harbor actually opened. And my love of the outdoors grew up from that. My parents always had us down here at the beach. I grew up in San Clemente. But you know, it wasn't until I was in high school, and I've lived here since I moved away for a while, but I was 2 years old when my father was, oh my gosh, I can't even think of the word. Well, we were in Quantico, Virginia, and then the Marine Corps brought him to Camp Pendleton and moved to San Clemente. But anyway, I was in high school when I realized that I could be sitting on the beach at Rivy and look out and see whales spouting. I don't know how I went kindergarten through high school without knowing that we had these amazing creatures migrating up and down the coast. And that really did have a big impact on my life. And I went on and majored in environmental science, and then I took a twist and decided that I wanted to be an educator. And so I came back to the San Clemente area, and I was able to teach in Capistrano Unified for 32 years here. So I've already seen a couple of former Malcolm families. I taught at both Marion Bergeson Elementary and Open John Malcolm, and taught there for about 25 years. And then I retired, and 2 weeks after retirement, I took a new job, which I absolutely love. I work for Dana Wharf Whale Watching, and I'm down there 4 days a week educating the folks that come out to see the cetaceans that we have out here. So I highly encourage you, do not miss an opportunity to get out on the water. With Dana Wharf Whale Watching, we're out there every day of the year except Thanksgiving and Christmas, because there's always something to see. And this week I've seen fin whales, rhesus dolphins, bottlenose dolphin, long beak, short beak, common dolphin. We've had amazing mola molas, those big, large ocean sunfish, feeding on those by-the-wind sailors, the velellas that are floating all over the place. So, as we like to say, there are no bad days when you get out on the water. But today we're going to talk about sea mamas. So being a teacher, I had to prepare at least one handout. So we're going to go down through this list and see how we do. The first one said, I just can't get enough of my baby. I hold my child and constantly groom it during its first 6 months to year of life. Who knew what the answer to that was? Come on,
sea otter?
Sea otters. The gray whale was my first cetacean, and I love them dearly. But when it comes to marine mammals in the weasel family, there's nothing cuter than a little sea otter and a mama holding her little baby. I love to get up to Morro Bay and see those. You know, they're just so cute. So when those babies are born after a couple of months gestation, mama keeps them right there on their lap with her rock. The fur on the otters is the thickest of our marine mammals. Do you know they can have up to 1 million hair follicles per square inch? When those babies are born, their fur is so thick it makes them buoyant. So if mom has to leave for a few minutes and forage for food, that baby won't sink. It'll float. And it's just amazing how those animals are made there. They take such good care of them. I think of our mamas on earth when you're saying brush your hair, you know, comb your hair, brush your teeth, wash your face. She does all of that to her babies, constantly grooming them. And one of the cutest things, I love it. It's sunset, and when I'm up at Morro Bay, I just love to go over to the rocks, because they get together and they wash their face like this, and then they go like this, and they wash some more, and then they roll up in their seaweed and they hold hands during the night. And to see a little raft of sea lions all together with their faces washed, wrapped up in their seaweed blanket for the night to hold them in place and holding hands is just as cute as can be. So they're just amazing. So every time you wash your child's face and clean them up, remember that those sea otters are doing the absolute same thing. I even read that up at the Monterey Bay Aquarium, when they find some stranded, like something must have happened to the mama's little pups, they can bring those pups into the aquarium, and another mother will become a surrogate mother and take care of that little pup until it's strong enough to be independent on its own. So that's a little bit about our sea otters. We could go on and on about how cute they are and how mama takes care of them. and helps them develop to be independent in that first year of life. Okay, the next one. My baby's so important to me, I make the longest migration of any mammal to give birth. Then I fiercely protect my child from predators and will make that long 6,000-mile migration back to our summer feeding grounds. Who knows? B is correct, the gray whale. The gray whale makes the longest migration of any animal on this planet. They spend the summer months feeding up in those cold Arctic waters above Alaska, in particular the Bering Sea and the Chukchi Sea. Then as the angle of the sunlight gets lower on the horizon and the waters start to get cold up there, those animals know they need to get out. Not because their blubber isn't thick enough insulation to protect them from the cold water. But what's going to happen, boys and girls, if that water freezes over? Do you know what would happen to a gray whale? Anybody? None of the boys and girls know. How about moms and dads if the water freezes over?
The whale couldn't breathe?
The whale can't breathe. The whale will drown. Whales are air-breathing mammals like you and I. Okay, this is for our kids. How do we spell whale? W-H-A-L-E. All whales and cetaceans are W, warm-blooded animals like you and I. They maintain a body temperature. H, they have body hairs when they're born. Some of those keep their hairs all their lives. Humpback whales have one hair follicle that comes out of every one of those tubercles on their rostrum. W-H-A, air breathing. So as I was saying, those whales have to get out of there. If that water freezes over, they're going to drown. L, they give live birth. The mamas cannot give birth up in those very, very cold waters. So they make a 6,000-mile migration, the longest of any mammal. Birds outdo them, but for mammals it's the longest. And they go to those warm, shallow lagoons off the coast of Baja. San Ignacio, Guerra Negro, Magdalena Bay. There's another one. It'll come to me in a minute. But they go down there to give birth to their young. Now these days with global warming and other issues, they've had to travel farther into the Arctic Circle, increasing that migration. Many of those babies are born above Los Angeles or down here in the California Bight. Well, our water's warm enough for them to be born, but I like to say the babies are being born in the taxi. They're not quite making it to the hospital these days. As a matter of fact, this last, I think it was the beginning of February, was the first time we observed the birth of a baby whale right outside the harbor on the other side of this jetty. But this year we saw so many of those little babies being born. Well, those mothers continue on down to those lagoons and they're nursing those babies, and that's the E, eat milk. So warm-blooded, hair, air-breathing, live birth eats milk. And you might go, Nona, I don't eat my milk, I drink it. Well, if you were a whale or a dolphin, you would eat your milk. It's about the consistency of cottage cheese. I like to say Greek yogurt. And those babies will push up against the mother's mammary glands and it'll squirt that milk into them. That milk is 53% butterfat. Those babies are gaining 30 to 50 pounds a day. And they need that weight gain for the insulation and the endurance, because that little baby at a couple of months old is going to turn around and mama is going to take it all the way back up to the Bering Sea and the Chukchi Sea. That's a 6,000-mile migration when you are 6 months or less old. Mama fiercely protects that baby the entire migration. And from the time she leaves the Chukchi Sea till the time she gets back there, most scientists think these mothers do not eat at all. They lose about 40 to 50% of their own body weight just in the process of bringing that baby to full maturity and delivering that little embryo to maturity, delivering that baby, nursing it. But then, boys and girls, once those whales get back up to the Arctic waters, the baby goes, Mom, it's been great knowing you. This has been wonderful. Thanks for all you did. I'm going to eat like the rest of you. I'll see you next year down in the lagoons. And so that cow-calf bond is broken. But oh my gosh, the next time you're in the car and the kids go, are we there yet? How much longer? Think about that little whale traveling 6,000 miles to get to the feeding grounds. All right, let's look at number 3. I believe in raising strong, independent children who can care for themselves. Soon after birth, I leave them to fend on their own. knows what that is?
These.
It's not D.
E.
It is E. That's right. And E stands for our elephant seals. So if you ever go up to San Simeon or up the Central Coast, you can see those huge elephant seals on the beach. Once the mother gives birth to those babies, within 24 days, she's done nursing them, she's starving, and she takes out to sea and leaves those little ones on the beach to fend for themselves. You know, there comes a time when we have to cut that umbilical cord, don't we, and let our kids become more and more independent. Well, that's what the mother sea lions do. Those babies left on the beach, this is funny, they're called weenies when they're left behind. They've been weaned by mom, but they're weenies on the beach. Sometimes they're still hungry for milk, and they'll sneak up to another mother and they'll nurse from another one just to get a little more milk. So it's kind of cool to go up there to San Simeon, look at those large elephant seals on the beach, and think about those mothers birthing those babies, nursing them for about a month, and then saying, you're on your own. So it's kind of hard for us moms sometimes when it takes us 18 years to say, okay, I'm going to let you out the door, you're on your own, and trust that you've done a good job raising them. But it's still that goal, isn't it? To raise our children to be independent and to be able to take care of themselves. Okay, the next one. Did you say supermom? I raised my daughter to be just like me, as did my mother and grandmother before me. We're a tight-knit group led by the almost oldest female relative.
A.
It is A. You're going to get 100% on this test. Our orcas, as well as our toothed whales, it's the same with our dolphin families. The oldest female is the leader of the pack. So when we're out here on a pod of common dolphin or bottlenose dolphin or Rizzo dolphins, I like to say that on the boat. Look out there. The oldest female is leading this group. And in our orcas, oh my gosh, we know that we have grandmothers and mothers, and I mean, you know, their daughters and the next daughters, there'll be up to 5 generations that will stay together in an orca pod. And those babies that nurse off their mother's milk for about a year, even the same for our dolphins out here. Now, the cool thing about toothed whales and dolphins is they have this superpower, the ability to echolocate. That means they can send out clicks and whistles through the front of their rostrum or head, and that's called the melon. It's a lipid-filled sac. They can send out waves, sound waves like a ray or like a hone right in like a laser beam, and it bounces off of anything solid, comes back to their lower jaw, which works like an antenna, and then it sends a 3D image to their brain. So I like to say that these dolphins and orcas are the largest of the dolphins, can see what they hear. So when those young babies are born, they're nursing off of their mother's milk. But within the first year of their life, they're learning how to use their echolocation, and they're going to start moving on to solid food. The male babies will stay with the mothers for about a year, and then they'll separate. But those female calves will stay with their mothers for up to 3 years. Those mothers are training them. Grandma is training them, because someday those young little female calves are going to become the leaders of the pod. So it's a great example for us moms to realize that we're always a role model to our children, and we need to teach them those things that are going to help them be independent leaders when they grow up as well. And so lastly for today, bringing my children into this world requires my utmost attention 24/7. I will never leave my unborn children. In fact, I give so much time and attention to bringing them into this world, I die soon afterwards. Who knows who we're talking about there? The last but not least, the only invertebrate I put on this list today, animal without a background, it's going to be D, our octopus. You know, most octopus live about 1 to 2 years, but once they lay their eggs, they circle around those eggs. They will not go out and feed. They will not move. They will stay there and protect those eggs to the point of when the eggs start hatching, they've given all they can, and they die. There's an interesting story, and I believe it also came out of the Monterey Bay Aquarium, that they had one octopus. Let me see if I can find it in my notes. Da-da-da-da-da-da. She brewed her eggs for 53 months. That was just incredible. They just watched it. That's over 4.5 years that octopus stayed there until those eggs hatched, and then she finally died. So in proportion to the animals, both its body size and the length of their lifetime, that would be like a human being being pregnant for over 300 years. But that's what that octopus did, and it is the longest recorded gestation period of any animal on this earth to date. It's just amazing. You know, as I mentioned earlier, I'm just going to throw in. So they lay these eggs, hundreds, and watch them, knowing that not all of them are going to hatch. Out here on the water right now, we are seeing so many mola molas, ocean sunfish. They are the ones that lay the most eggs. They can lay 300 million eggs at a time.
Wow.
Now we know in the ocean that the level of predation is going to be very, very high, and not all of them are going to survive. But that's just amazing to think how many eggs they lay out there. So when you think about this, moms, there's so much that I challenge you to continue to apply some of these principles to your children. For those of you that are expecting or hope to become pregnant, do all you can to protect that unborn child and give it a healthy, nurturing 9 months inside of you. And once they're in your arms, just hold them tight and feed them and groom them and help them to stay healthy and to grow up to be independent, strong women, because we need that in this world today, don't we? Hey, it's Sunday morning. I just came from church. I'm going to close with one of my favorite Bible verses from Proverbs. Who can find a virtuous and capable wife? Charm is deceptive. Beauty does not last. But a woman who fears the Lord will be greatly praised. Reward her for all she's done. Let her deeds publicly be declare her praise. So let's remember, great sea moms give us an example of what we can do in our life as well. And let's go out there and be great moms. And just to balance it out here, I could come back next month. There are some amazing sea daddies in the ocean as well. Thank you so much. It's been fun to be here today.
Thank you.